Sometimes the mind creates suffering where no danger exists, and if you understand why, you stop fighting yourself and start seeing the pattern clearly. There are moments when life is quiet, stable, and objectively fine, yet something inside you refuses to settle. Nothing is wrong, but your mind begins searching anyway. It scans the future for threats. It revisits the past for mistakes. It notices tiny shifts in tone, unanswered messages, uncertain outcomes, and harmless details that suddenly feel important. In the absence of real problems, the mind starts manufacturing possible ones. Many people assume this means something is deeply wrong with them. They think they are broken, pessimistic, dramatic, or incapable of peace. But often the truth is simpler and more human. The mind is not always trying to hurt you. It is trying to protect you using old methods that no longer fit your current life. The human brain evolved for survival, not serenity. For most of history, danger was common. Missing a threat could cost everything. It was safer for the brain to overreact than underreact. Better to mistake a shadow for danger than ignore something real. That ancient wiring still lives inside modern people, even when the threats are no longer wild animals or immediate physical risk. Now the threats are emotional uncertainty, rejection, failure, embarrassment, instability, loss of status, loneliness, or the fear of wasting your life. Because these threats are less visible, the mind keeps searching constantly. It cannot point to a tiger in the grass, so it creates abstract dangers instead. What if they are losing interest? What if I chose the wrong path? What if I never become who I should be? What if this calm period means something bad is coming? What if I am falling behind? These thoughts can feel intelligent because they arrive in the language of responsibility. They sound like planning, insight, preparation, awareness. But many of them are not solutions. They are stress responses wearing a thoughtful disguise. The mind often prefers a problem it can think about over peace it cannot control. Peace requires surrender. It asks you to be present without guarantees. It asks you to accept uncertainty without endless checking. For many people, that feels more uncomfortable than worry. Worry at least feels active. It creates the sensation of doing something. This is why some people feel strangely restless when life becomes calm. When chaos has been familiar, stillness can feel suspicious. If your nervous system spent years adapting to tension, drama, instability, or emotional unpredictability, calm can feel unnatural at first. The body has learned to expect motion. Silence feels wrong because it is unfamiliar, not because it is dangerous. So the mind creates movement. It starts a conflict in thought. It invents a scenario. It magnifies a small issue. It obsesses over timing, productivity, relationships, money, aging, meaning, identity. Suddenly, you are mentally busy again. The familiar tension returns, and oddly enough, part of you feels normal there. This is one reason people sabotage good seasons of life. They do not consciously want pain. They simply trust what is familiar more than what is healthy. Another reason the mind creates problems is identity attachment. If you have long seen yourself as the anxious one, the struggler, the fixer, the overthinker, the person carrying everything, then peace can feel disorienting. Who are you when there is nothing to solve? Who are you when you are not rescuing everyone? Who are you when the drama ends? The ego often clings to familiar identities, even painful ones. because certainty feels safer than change. So when life improves, the mind may unconsciously generate new problems just to preserve continuity. It wants to remain who it has always been. There is also the addiction to stimulation. Modern life trains the brain to expect constant input. Notifications, headlines, arguments, endless content, comparison, urgency. The nervous system becomes conditioned to spikes of attention and emotional charge. When nothing dramatic is happening, the brain interprets normal quiet as emptiness. Then it creates stimulation internally. A worry, a fantasy, a conflict replay, a future catastrophe, a regret loop, something to feel, something to chase, something to solve. This can become so normal that people mistake inner agitation for personality, but it is often conditioning. The mind can also create problems because unresolved emotions need somewhere to go. If grief was never processed, it may reappear as irritation. If fear was never felt fully, it may become chronic worry. If anger was suppressed, it may emerge as criticism toward yourself or others. If sadness had no space, it may disguise itself as hopeless thinking. Sometimes the problem is not the thought. The problem is the emotion underneath it asking to be acknowledged. The mind uses stories to explain sensations. If the body feels tense, the mind searches for a reason. If the chest feels heavy, it invents a narrative. If anxiety rises, it attaches itself to the nearest subject. This is why one week the mind obsesses about money, next week relationships, then health, then purpose. The topic changes, but the mechanism remains the same. The mind is looking for an object to hang discomfort on. Once you understand this, something powerful happens. You stop believing every thought simply because it arrived. You begin to ask different questions. Is this a real issue, or a nervous system seeking certainty? Is this thought useful, or just familiar? Do I need action right now, or am I trying to escape discomfort through analysis? Is there evidence of danger, or only sensation? That pause changes everything, because created problems feed on unconscious belief. They need immediate attention, emotional reaction, and unquestioned loyalty. When observed clearly, they weaken. This does not mean ignoring genuine responsibilities. Some problems are real and need courage, planning, conversation, boundaries, or change. Wisdom is not pretending everything is fine. Wisdom is learning the difference between reality and mental noise. Real problems tend to become clearer when faced directly. Manufactured problems tend to multiply the more you feed them. So what helps? First, reduce urgency. Not every thought deserves instant engagement. Let some thoughts pass unanswered. Second, return to the body. Breathe slower. Walk. Stretch. Notice the room around you. The body lives in the present, while the mind often lives in imagined futures. Third, create space from stimulation. Constant input keeps the mind reactive. Quiet may feel uncomfortable at first, but discomfort is not failure. It is recalibration. Fourth, build tolerance for uncertainty. You do not need guarantees to be okay. Much of life can only be lived, not solved in advance. Fifth, examine what calm brings up in you. If peace feels strange, do not run immediately. Stay long enough to learn what surfaces there. Sometimes peace reveals grief. Sometimes it reveals exhaustion. Sometimes it reveals how long you lived in survival mode. That awareness is healing, even if it feels uncomfortable. And finally, stop worshipping the mind as if every thought is truth. The mind is a tool, brilliant, creative, protective, but imperfect. It predicts, it projects, it repeats, it exaggerates, it remembers pain vividly and forgets how many fears never came true. You are not required to follow every mental alarm. You are allowed to live in the space between thoughts. You are allowed to have a normal day without turning it into a crisis. You are allowed to experience calm without searching for what is wrong. Often nothing is wrong. Often the old system is simply still running. And the moment you see that clearly, the spell begins to break. Because freedom is not the absence of thoughts. It is the ability to recognize which thoughts deserve your life and which ones were only passing shadows.